It's Thursday, and it's The View from a Pew. Today, Pastor Michael Demastus. What does it take to be a real man? We'll talk about it and invite you to the Real Man Conference. It's coming up today on The View.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Yeah.
Let's get it started in here.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. That's 855-244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
Good afternoon, 4 minutes after the hour on this 15th day of January in the Lord's year 2015. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is The View from a Pew here on The Truth. 99.3, Ryan producing, The Voice. Frank sitting in with me today as Bob's on the farm. He had to eat this warm weather. The horses wanted to go out and run, and what's he got now? 16 horses or something like this on this horse farm?
He ain't gonna pass this day up.
So they're out running around, and so that's where Bob is. And my special guest today is Pastor Mike Demastus from, now I want to get this right, Fort Des Moines Church of Christ.
You are awesome. I
Is
think
that
that's
right?
the very first time you've ever said the name of the church.
And
right.
I didn't have it written down.
You didn't.
I didn't ask you before.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay, good. I'm going to write that down. Fort Des Moines Church of Christ. All right. And that's the church that has the awesome sign. It's on the north side of Army Post Road, right kind of across from the Y.
Yeah, it would be catty corner from the Y.
Okay. And their sign always has, thought-provoking messages on it. And sometimes you thought-provoke the wrong people. And they get a little sideways with you.
It's happened, yeah.
And you like that.
I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, you don't mind that at all. Is that defending the gospel or proclaiming it?
I would say I'm making use of that sign in the best way possible.
Do you have like a book of messages for church signs?
No. We don't put up the whole God answers an email kind of messages on our church sign.
Okay.
So.
Now, do you have people who come to you and say, "Oh, I got a great sign for you"?
Yes, all the time.
Yeah, and you don't like that, do you?
No.
You
Usually.
don't want to think them up yourself.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've had probably one or two good suggestions, but most of the time it's not.
They're not
Most of the time
appropriate.
they're just silly things. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't.
I don't know if you noticed on Facebook, but in 2015, my initial New Year's resolution was to clean my office. And the reason this is funny is because this stuff is piled for about 17 years, literally. Because when we moved from our old house 10 years ago, we didn't go through anything. We didn't have time. We were both busy. We just put everything in the loading truck, brought it over, and unpacked it. And whenever my wife wants something moved out of the house and no longer wants it there, she goes, well, just put it in your office. And so this fairly large office just had stuff. So rather than just throw everything away, I went through everything one by one by one. And I found a book I was going to give you. But I remembered one time you told me that you didn't like suggestions, but it was one of those little books, and it was famous church signs or something. And so I found that, and I thought, I was going to give, no, I'm not. So it's safe. It's not coming anywhere. All right, one of the things that, by the way, if you're not a friend of Michael's on Facebook, befriend him right now. Great posts. Genuine, authentic, real, emotional, humorous, the real stuff, okay? And about his life and his ministry, and Michael's very bold. I'm honored to have him in my life. And so befriend him on Facebook, and I think you'll enjoy it. But Michael heads up the Real Men Conference. Now, did you start this?
Yep.
Okay, long time ago.
Yep. 6 years ago.
Okay. And it is always held at the Rising Sun Church of Christ in Pleasant Hill. That's the McDonald's in Pleasant Hill, and then you go south.
No.
The Come and Go.
Come and Go. You go past the Come and Go. Street east of Come and Go.
All right. What's the name of the street? You remember?
I think it's Rising Sun Way or something like that. Or so.
Nice church in the back there, and write it down. It's 27th day of February, which is a Friday night, and it's 7 to 10 p.m. So just jot that down someplace. If you're a female and you're listening, I'm sorry you can't come. But you can tell your husband to come, and you can tell your boyfriend to come, and you can tell your son or your grandson to come, and you can ask them to come. And either way, it's a good way to for a adult male. No, I don't mean that. I mean a mentoring male to take a mentoree. It's a good way for a dad to take his son or a grandpa to take his grandson. Is there any age limit?
No. I think that it's a wonderful thing, and the way that you described it for dads and sons and grandpas and sons, and just to we have that whole intergenerational mix, and so that's an awesome thing. It's the topics that we will discuss that night are hard-hitting, they're challenging, but it centers around men becoming the men that they're supposed to be in terms of their relationship with their wife, relationship with their children, and the relationship with their Lord. There's always an emphasis on sexual purity. And so it's the night will be parsed out into two main sessions. Basically, our keynote speaker, who is Brad Stein, well-known Christian comedian, will deliver one address, and then it'll be broken up, and then the next time he comes up, he'll have another session where he'll address the men. But in one of those times, he'll deal with that whole issue of sexual purity. But basically, it's just about being the man God has called you to be.
Yeah, and by the way, don't get confused when he says Christian comedian. You're not there to laugh. Oh, you will laugh. But he's going to punch hard, especially with only men in the room.
Absolutely.
Especially with the younger generation in the room. He's going to make people think, and he's going to make people go, oh, yeah, that is me. I do that.
A lot of people know Brad Stein through they've seen him like at Promise Keepers and other events, and he is a great Christian comedian. And if you want to see some of his stuff, just go to YouTube and look for his name, search his name. It's BradStine, Brad Stein, or go to his website bradstein.com, and you can see his material. But he's fantastic. He is a comedian, but he's also going to be very, very serious for us that evening, and he's going to come speaking right to the men's hearts. But he'll bring a 2x4 with him to hit him upside the head. So
yeah, make you think about the tough stuff. All right, so I'll say the date many times. Maybe Ryan, you can put it on the screen for the webcast watchers. It's you got plenty of time here. It's what do we got? We got 31 days. No, more than that. 41 days, 42 days. Well, you got some time to figure it out and invite some people. Maybe even thinking about inviting your grandson home for the weekend. Maybe you're thinking about inviting your brother or your brother-in-law home for the weekend, and you do a family thing Saturday and Sunday, but on Friday night the boys get out for a little boys' fun. Boy, you could really fool somebody. Hey, we're going to go out and go to this place called the Rising Sun Tap. Got a comedian there.
Well, I don't care how they get there. So, I think that if they do go, it will be an event that could change the trajectory of a guy's life. And I think that it's important to get guys there. I would say beg, barter, bribe, do whatever you need to do, kidnap.
Yeah, I remember when you had me give my testimony there a couple of years ago, and to this day I'll have somebody come up and say, hey, I saw you at the Real Men Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Saw you at the Real Men Conference. Oh, oh, man, Ryan is such a great producer.
Yep.
So he's got there's Stein right there. So if you're watching on the webcast, you can see the Facebook page that we've got up. And, don't get confused at all by the fact that Brian's going to make you laugh. A lot of times, right after you laugh, he makes you think hard at something. And so you kind of swallow and go, oh, gosh, that's me. So we'll be talking about the Real Men Conference. Again, 27th day of February in the Lord's year 2015. Rising Sun Church of Christ in Pleasant Hill, 7 to 10 on a Friday night. And we'd like to see you there. Is there any cost involved?
$15 per guy. It used to be free, but we to bring a guy like Brad Stein in, it's costing quite a bit. And the events themselves cost a little bit to put on. So. It is going to cost a little bit, but $15 for 3 hours.
You can't go to a movie for that.
it's something that's well worth the investment. So.
Yeah, I would agree.
And you can register right online at realmeniowa.org.
Now, is this a franchise? I mean, are there Real Men conferences across the country, or is this something you just copied from somebody else or made up on your own?
Well, we didn't copy it. We just, me and a guy in my church, he actually came to me and said, hey, what if we had like a guys' night thing at the church? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it, and we prayed about it, and our goal was to have, like 40 guys the first year, and we ended up kind of just promoting it with some area churches, and we had well over 100 guys show up. The next year, we had over 200 guys, and we moved it from where we were having it at our church to Rising Sun. We've had it there ever since, and this last year we had, well over 300, and we're expecting over 500 this year.
Wow.
And so I think it'll be a great event, and it's just grown in its popularity, and I'm really, it's not a particular church thing, it's just a God thing with guys.
It's not denominational.
It's not at all.
And, if you've got a son who is, 15, 16, 17, and he's begun to kind of stray away from God's ways. He's always a good Sunday school goer and a good guy in confirmation, and then he, gets pimples and gets a driver's license and figures out that girls aren't yucky, and Dad and Mom are trying to reel him in, and Mom's really trying to reel him in, and Dad's trying to give him a little room because dads are like that, but Mom, she's just worried, this girl thing. And the other day he said a bad word, and then he was hanging around with somebody you knew wasn't very good. I mean, you knew that. That wasn't judgmental. You know this kid. You know this family. And so gently, you want to just kind of reach in and bring him back to the Lord, or at least in a place where the Lord is consistent. And so, father and son, maybe it's a 3-generation thing. Maybe get Grandpa to come to town, and Grandpa and Dad and the grandson come, and make it a bonding time. And you'll laugh, you may cry, but you will feel the Holy Spirit move. And you'll know that you have entered a holy place and something important is going on. Now, you've also got a great praise band.
Yes.
I don't know who you had last year.
Same one. They've done it every single year. Pathway Band from Dan Hudson's church, Pathway Church.
Yeah.
And so they're fantastic. They are top-notch. And, Ben and Mike Foose, those two brothers, are great guys. And, Jared Roy is their lead singer. And they just, I don't know. They're not all about puffing themselves up, but they could play in any mega church anywhere, and they're fantastic. I really like those guys. True blue guys.
I remember when they were about to go on last year, and they prayed. Mm-hmm. And it was not that, Lord, just help us play real well and reach the men out there, and in the name of Jesus, amen. I mean, these guys prayed, heavy. I don't even think it was about playing. Mm-hmm. I think it was about men and what they needed men to do. And they knew their small or large part. Mm-hmm. They didn't know yet the part that they'd play and the part the Lord asked them to come in and do. And they were really good, though.
Right.
Yeah, really, really good. Frank, are you going? Take your son-in-law? Take your grandson. How old's your grandson's like 15, isn't he?
I'd have to take myself and my appetite.
Your what?
Myself and my appetite.
That would be all that would go with you?
Yeah. Most likely.
Maybe Ryan would go with you. Would you go as little Frank? By then you could have a ponytail like Frank. You already got the beard. All right. Well, anyway, you ought to think about it. $15, can't beat the price. And it's the Real Men Conference at the Rising Sun Pleasant Hill Church of Christ, 27th day of February in the Lord's year 2015, 7 to 10 p.m. Friday. It's only one day.
One day, yep. And like I said, register online, realmeniowa.org. And you can see everything you need there. Even if you're interested in getting the conference promoted in your church, and you've been, but you want to make sure that your church promotes it, go to the website there, and you can find stuff to download to help promote it. Bulletin inserts and posters and flyers and all that kind of stuff. So.
All right, good. All right, and remember Brad Stein, the Christian comedian with a punch, with a message, True Blue. He'll be there, and that right there is worth $15. So go online, register, and let us know that you're coming to the Real Men Conference. All right, when we come back, what was this organization again that you went with?
The American Renewal Project.
That's a Huckabee thing, right?
Well, Mike Huckabee he partnered up with them.
All right. And you went over to Poland, and you toured some of the camps that the Jews were held in, and I want you to share some of those experiences.
Absolutely.
And he'll do that when we come back. Live here on The View from a Pew. on the truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah!
If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
We've got questions. You've got the answer. Join the conversation. It's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, welcome back. 21 minutes after the hour on the 15th day of January in the Lord's year 2015. I'm J. Michael McCoy, the voice. Frank, who remained incredibly quiet during that session. Don't you have anything to say about real men? I mean, you're a real man. You're a rough and tough cowboy kind of guy.
Depends on who you talk to.
Well, I'm just saying you're not a wussy.
Well, I hope not.
You jump in right in anytime.
All right. Thank you.
Ryan is here, who's going to play Frank Jr. for the Real Men Conference on the 27th at Rising Sun, Pleasant Hill Church of Christ. 7 to 10 on a Friday night, $15, and you'll hear Brad Stein's impactful comedy and testimony. So think about doing that. Think about grabbing your grandson or your father. Maybe, hey, here's the deal. You got that buddy, right? And he's not a believer, but he's a seeker, I guess. And he won't go to church with you. Maybe he'll just go to the men's thing. It's 3 hours. Pay his ticket. Buy him a beer afterwards. Just ask him to come. 3 hours. Might be life-changing for both of you. Pastor Michael Demastus is our guest today, and a few months ago, actually about a month and a half ago.
November.
You joined the American Renewal Project, which Mike Huckabee's a part of, and Tamara Scott here locally is a part of. And you went to, what did you say? You went to Poland? Where else?
Yeah, we went to Krakow, Poland, and then we went to London, and then we went to Los Angeles.
And in Poland, you toured Auschwitz.
We did. It's a couple hours outside of Krakow, and we went to Auschwitz and Birkenau, those two concentration camps. And Auschwitz was one of the first, that was built there in Poland. And then they built Birkenau, which is also called Auschwitz II, which is about a mile away. And they expanded basically the first Auschwitz, made it bigger, more efficient, and larger. And
efficient. What a word.
Well, you're looking at the most advanced, the most sophisticated, the most cultured country and people in that time frame that used all of their efforts at trying to figure out how to deal with the quote-unquote Jewish problem. And their response was these camps that they built. It was known as the Final Solution. And they were systematically exterminating an entire people group.
Now, I don't know a lot about this, and if you don't either, that's okay. But why? What did Hitler and those Germans think about these Jews that made it necessary to wipe them out? I mean, genocide.
They blamed the Jews for all of their country's ails. They blamed all of the problems with their economy, all of the problems with crime. Everything was cast upon the Jews, and it's because of the influx of Jews in our cities and our country. That's why we're facing the problems that we're facing. And I'm talking about what they would have thought back in that day. And Hitler was just a very, very strong anti-Semite himself. From early ages, but it just grew into a disorder almost. And the places that we went to in Auschwitz, the things that we saw, and how they murdered these people left an indelible imprint in my heart and in my life, and it changed me, forever. And the thing, to bring it back home, the thing that I remember standing there at Auschwitz as Mike Huckabee was kind of summarizing what we were experiencing, and he was challenging us, don't just be a tourist here. Don't let this be something you do as another tourist event here with us, but go back home and change your people, your sphere of influence, help them be changed because of what you've experienced here. And for me, what I see is the Auschwitz, those kind of camps, they're still ongoing. We never want that to be repeated, but they're still happening today in our culture. The smoke is still rising from those buildings in places like Planned Parenthood, where we're murdering and slaughtering millions of innocent children every single year in our country, simply because we don't want them. We don't want them.
Between euthanasia, which is a term we was looking for the other day when we was talking to Bradshaw, and abortion, aren't we in essence doing the same thing?
We are doing it better. We're more advanced and more sinister than the most sophisticated SS soldier could have been in any of the concentration camps.
Now, have you ever come across in your study the thought or the speculation that Hitler's mother was actually Jewish?
Well, I've never heard that, but I did hear, tales about the fact that when Hitler's mother passed away, it was a Jewish doctor that was caring for her at the time, and thus that bore in him this hatred toward the Jews.
Oh, really?
I don't know, but there are many people that account and attribute his hatred for the Jews towards that particular doctor that cared for his mother at her passing.
Well, the idea was that maybe Hitler was in this pursuit of a perfect race and pure Aryan race, but he himself wasn't pure. Much like a mafia member has to be Italian, Hitler
wasn't pure German.
No, I think Hitler had some Jewish blood in him, and that was the conflict.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I've never heard that or studied that, but the only thing that I've ever heard is like what I shared with you, is that that there was thoughts that the doctor that cared for his mother was a Jew.
Now, Michael Demastus is here, and he went to Poland and London and L.A. I want to know about the L.A. thing. With the American Renewal Project, this was back in November. I was invited to go, and I couldn't go. So I'm fascinated to hear about the trip through Michael's eyes. You said that Huckabee made the point to make sure that everybody knew that this was still going on, but it's now called Planned Parenthood. It's now called euthanasia. Where else is this going on in the world that we're either aware of and ignoring or in denial, or that we're not aware of?
Well, I think it's anywhere where a culture of death is being, justified. It's there are many. Here's one of the sad facts is that I think the latest statistics that I saw, it's like 10% of American high school students either blatantly just reject the idea that the Holocaust even happened as a historical fact, or question its validity. That's an incredible thought to me.
How?
There are so many that reject outright the events of the Holocaust. They say that it is something that was contrived by the Jews to gain sympathy towards their whole culture.
Well, I think the numbers can be disputed because I've heard somewhere in the vicinity of 4 to 8 million, and nobody knows precisely. But I don't think the fact that it happened can be disputed. They might argue the numbers, but the proof and the evidence is there. What happened? I mean, the death camps exist.
Right, and the reason that they keep those mounds of human hair that we discussed off air, and
we're going to discuss them on air.
Yes,
in a minute,
and the eyeglasses and the shoes and all of that stuff. The reason they keep that is evidence of the fact that this crime did occur. When we went to Birkenau, they had 4 gas chambers. They only had 1 at Auschwitz, but in Birkenau there were 4, and all 4 of them were destroyed 3 days before the Russians came in to liberate those camps, and they were trying to get rid of the evidence, and they have left those destroyed gas chambers just as they are. They're untouched, it's all kind of there, kind of caved in and stuff, and we stood there basically right at that spot where one of them at least is destroyed.
Well, the documentaries that I have seen showed that the Allied forces forced the German people to go through those camps, and they actually had to bury the dead bodies because they wanted them to know what was happening under their nose.
Right.
So how can this be disputed? I mean, it's a historical fact. Now, you can quibble about numbers.
The reason it is disputed, to be blunt with you, largely where that began are in several different arenas. One of them being neo-Nazi movements, another one being in pro-Muslim or Islamic arenas, and there are just those who have some other kind of an agenda at trying to distort history. And so I think that, they have gained traction, frankly. One of them would be because of the numbers of people in has grown, exponentially in the past several decades. And because of that high idea that the Holocaust didn't occur has gained a lot of traction. You have leaders of modern countries, namely Iran, they're speaking before the UN denying the Holocaust occurred.
But I would imagine scientifically it can be proved.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
You've got you talked about that you were about to walk into a room and they said no cameras, and you got in there and you said it was a room about 20 by 20, and how deep, how high, 6 foot?
Well, probably 10-foot ceilings.
All right, so 10 foot high, 20 by 20, 25 by 25, and it was all human hair.
Yeah.
This was the hair that they shaved off the men and the women.
The women
before they sent them into the gas chambers. That's filled with DNA that they can age. They can tell you how old that is. We haven't talked about this off air, but I've always seen the pictures of the skulls just piled up one after another, and just walls of these things. They can do those with DNA and say, yeah, this is from 19 blank, 19, whatever.
They had another room that we went into, they let us into, that was just filled with thousands and thousands of suitcases. And a lot of the suitcases had addresses and names written on the side of them because they told them after to keep them calm as they would get off of the cars, the rail cars. They would tell them, hey, give them chalk. Here's chalk. Write your name and address. We'll bring you back to your belongings. They were lying to them. But so a lot of these pieces of luggage actually had their name and addresses written right on them. We could see that because as they got off the cars, they were writing on it thinking, okay, I'll be back in just a few minutes to get this. They weren't. They were separated immediately at that. It was called separation platform, and they would separate those who live, those who die. Anyone under the age of 15 died. Any person that had any kind of a handicap, elderly, immediately they were sent right from the rail car, literally, to the gas chamber. When they got off the rail car, they had less than 30 minutes to live at that point because it took them a little bit to walk down to the gas chamber.
Well, not only was Hitler exterminating the Jews, but he was exterminating members of his own society who were handicapped and, mentally deficient because in this effort to build this superhuman Aryan race. So it's just a horrific story what evil man will do to other men.
Right. Did we ever know the approximate number of people that were murdered?
1.5 million approximately at Auschwitz itself.
Okay.
And that includes Birkenau. And mainly Jews, but there was several 100,000 Poles that were killed, several 100,000 Russian prisoners of war that were killed, and several thousand homosexuals. And note that I said several thousand, not several 100,000. Several thousand other political dissidents of other kinds, but mainly it was Jewish people of that 1.6 million.
Unbelievable. All right, and that was just part of your trip with the American Renewal Project.
Yes, and what we were studying there, by the way, was the effects that Pope John Paul II had in Poland.
All right, and when we come back, I want to hear about that, and I also want to hear what you did in London and L.A., especially L.A.
Okay.
Michael Demastus is our guest. He is with the Fort Des Moines Church of Christ. Did I get it wrong again?
You got it right.
I got it right. All right. Don't help me. It's
Okay,
up to me.
Sorry.
I have memory slippage. This is important. Say hi to Jill King, and we'll be back live here on The Truth, 99.3.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely, able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
We're the ones in the pew, not pulpit. Come on now, let's reason together. The phone lines are open, so call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
3:38, 22 before the top Salem Radio Network news. And then Michael Mudloff with True Blue, Presbyterian Church from 4 to 4:30. Here on The Truth, 99.3. Want to give another shout out to Jill and Randy King at King's Christian Bookstore on Highway 30 in Boone. They are now selling those essential oils. Now, you're probably too much of a man to use essential oils, aren't you?
Well, you'd have to tell me what it is first.
Well, they're little bottles of oils, and different oils produce different, what's the term I want? Muriatic? No. What is that called when oils are used? Never mind. For instance, if you've got a headache,
okay,
you would take these oils, and it's literally just like a couple of eye drops.
Medicinal oil.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very good. I'm proud of you.
All right.
The big words from the voice. And then you'd rub them on your head.
Sure.
We used a lot of the oils when my mother-in-law was first put in the hospital.
Anointing.
Sure. Anointing.
Being anointed by oil, which is scriptural, says if any among you are sick, bring them to the elders and have them anointed by oil.
Yeah, and that's what this is. Although there are, it's kind of like reflexology or acupuncture. And if you are an individual who doesn't believe in acupuncture or reflexology, that's okay. I'm not going to challenge you on it. I'm just going to tell you that I know it works. Personally, I know both of those work. And I now know that the oils are very, very helpful also. Now, my family's only been into them for, I don't know, 6 months maybe.
Okay.
But Jill and Randy King at King's Christian Bookstore, by the way, this isn't a paid advertisement. This is just me telling you. They're one of the few retail locations where you can get this stuff. And they have the diffusers where you drop the little bits of this oil in some hot water, and then it puts a vapor out. And so you can also change the smell in the room.
Defibrillator?
No, defibrillator is the thing you put on your chest to start your heart again. No, it's a diffuser.
All right.
I'm pretty sure.
All right.
Okay, you got one big word, but you lost the second. And so stop by King's Christian Bookstore, and you can also use them ingested. You can inhale them, diffused, anything like that. So just check out with Jill at King's Christian Bookstore on Highway 30.
So they know what they're talking about, Jill and Randy.
Well, so do I.
Okay.
They probably know a little more.
All right.
I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say they know 9, know like 2, but you know like 1.
Well, I don't dispute that.
Okay. All right. American Renewal Project. What does that mean?
Well, it's an organization that's headed up by David and Cindy Lane, who are, by the way, very wonderful people, very wealthy people, but very wonderful people. And David has a vision of wanting to help America get back to its spiritual foundations. And he has helped over 15,000 pastors be challenged to be more politically active and engaged, and to challenge their congregations to be more politically active and engaged. And he has done this through various venues, but that's who was behind this trip that I went on with Mike Huckabee.
Yeah, and you went to Poland, you went to London, and then you went to L.A.
Right.
Now, Poland, Pope John Paul II, which was the first Polish pope, right?
Right.
Had a big
in a long time.
In a long time, okay. Right. Not the first ever.
Like 600 years.
Okay, well, that's a long time. That's older than Frank. Little. So tell me what else and how John Paul II impacted this trip for you.
Well, in 1979, when he was Pope, he came back to his country for a particular reason. He was going to come back in May when they were celebrating this one particular pope that was murdered and martyred by one of the kings, and they did not want him coming back for those political reasons. So they asked him to move it into June, so he did. But in that time frame that he was there in June of 1979, he toured the country and had millions upon millions of people that came to see him wherever he would go.
Bet.
And it inspired that people to actually stand up. The communist regime had built a city that they began building in the 50s called Nova Huta. And Nova Huta, that literally means new steel works. They had built a steel factory, and they wanted to build this communist town. They wanted it to be known as the city without God. So there were no churches in Nova Huta.
Really?
Yes. And so it was
This is in what year?
This is in the mid 50s when they began it, but at its height, Nova Huta, I'd say in the early 70s was really, kind of just moving along. Over 80,000 people in this city. And anyways, they wanted to be held up not only to the whole country of Poland, which is a very religious country, but they wanted to be held up to the world as to see, you don't need God for a city to be efficient. You don't need churches or anything like that. So that was the whole focus of the communist regime to do this. Well, what happened in that particular city in Nova Huta was the people had kept bugging the government to be able to build a church, and they finally relented and said you could. And so on one particular spot in this city, they put up a cross where the church was to be built. But then the regime relented, as they do, and they said, no, we changed our mind. No churches will be built there. None. So they decided they wanted that cross to be taken down. They could not get one Polish citizen in the entire country that would go and remove that cross in Nova Huta.
Wow.
So they found a couple of Greek nationals, I think like 7 or 8 of them, and they asked them to do it. And so they went to remove the cross, and when they did, they ended up having over 50,000 people come rally around this cross to stop it from being taken down. And it was a riot. People got hurt. Some people died. People were imprisoned. And that cross still stands today. Now there is a church there, but we stood at that spot around that cross, and we sang hymns about the cross and prayed, and it was a wonderful thing. And the road that goes right by there is known as the Road of the Defenders of the Cross, and it just gave me chills to stand there. And
are there more than one church now?
The thing that's really awesome is that these people were willing to put their life on the line to defend their faith, defend the cross. I mean, they had everything stripped from them, from the communist rulers, but they were not going to allow them to take their faith. And I think about our culture, where we have churches in the name of seeker sensitivity that don't want to put up a cross in lieu of offending someone that might be seeking out God, or we'll have communities that has some threat by some stupid ACLU lawyer, and they'll be all too quick, and Christians will be all too quick to help them remove the cross from a public square. And I just think we need a lot more defenders of the cross in our own country. I think that what inspired me about that nation was that people, they're largely Catholic, keep that in mind, but they are completely devoted to the Lord.
So, amen to that. But when the old saying is there's nothing new under the sun, and you have atheists now, in essence, doing the same thing, billboards that say, God, we've done plenty fine without him. Mm-hmm. It's just regurgitated baloney.
Right.
Absolutely. That was visited in the 50s, as you say.
Right.
And it's now being revisited.
Right, exactly. It's sad that what I see happening in our own culture in America is something that's already been done in that country. One of our tour guides in Poland had never met, he was 35 years old, had never met, to his knowledge, a person that had had an abortion. And he said, I think I've only known 2 people that have ever gotten divorced in his whole life.
Wow.
That's how religious Poland is. And I think that speaks really strongly to where we've gone as a nation, where we could say just the opposite. I don't know that I've met maybe one person that hasn't had an abortion or hasn't had a divorce. And so that's, we're on the opposite end of that spectrum. And I think it's time for us to get back. And those people are inspiring because I think we need to do a little bit more defending of the cross here in America.
Let's talk about that when we come back.
Okay.
What do we as Christians need to do? What do we need to do to get that revolution of love back on track to bring our faith into the light? We'll talk about that. Also, his trip to the Ronald Reagan Museum, which is on my bucket list. So I want to hear from that. Michael Demastus, he's here, Fort Des Moines Church of Christ. And don't forget the Real Men Conference coming up on the 27th of February. Rising Sun Pleasant Hill Church. We'll be back.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah!
If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
We've got questions. You've got the answer. Join the conversation. It's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, welcome back to The Truth, 99.3 KTIA. I have just received some wonderful news. APRIL. You ever heard of C.S. Lewis's Screw Tape Letters? Mm-hmm. There's a group out of Chicago that performs that as a play.
Mm-hmm.
And
my in-laws have seen it.
Yeah. What?
My in-laws have gone to see it.
Have it? Well, you can go see it on April 14th. They'll be in Ames.
Awesome. That's good to hear.
I just got, and they were in Omaha, and some friends of mine saw it and said, just blew them away.
Yeah. My in-laws said the same thing.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't think that's been announced yet, but I just did, I guess. And I'm going to get a group rate, and we're going to get a bus for going up there because I want to see that. One of the best books you'll ever read. Michael Demastus is my guest, Fort Des Moines Church of Christ, the Real Men Conference, Rising Sun Church of Christ in Pleasant Hill on the 27th day of February. Brad Stein will make you laugh in one moment and then punch you in the gut with a 2x4 on another, making you think, men, come on. Dads, grandpas, sons, fathers, think about it. 7 to 10, 3 hours, one night. Can you do it? Could you give 3 hours to disciple your son or your grandson or your neighbor or your brother? I bet you could. I bet you could. Go to the website now, realmeniowa.org,
Yep.
and reserve some tickets. Real quickly, you went to the Ronald Reagan Library. Tell me what that was like.
It was excellent. That's where we rounded out our trip, and Mike Huckabee spoke to a large group of people there. And then we ended up with a gala dinner underneath the Air Force One.
The airplane?
We literally were under the belly of it having our dinner. But it was an amazing place to tour. I would encourage anybody to go. And, just so many neat things to see in there. And I've not been to any other presidential library, so I don't really have a point of comparison. But it was It was really nifty. His tomb is there. You can visit his tomb, and also they have a piece of the.
It's called a tomb.
Well, his resting place. I don't know. But,
okay.
You know,
all right.
That
was just your word.
Yeah, it was my word. All but they have a piece of the Berlin Wall. I mean, a large section of it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of neat too. And
who doesn't remember that?
Oh, I know. You know, and. It's really neat, you know, just to kind of tell you this really quickly. I mean, everybody remembers that speech of Reagan's where he said, you know,
Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
But at the end of his speech, he said he shared this story about what was happening in Berlin. Berlin had put up this this TV station, you know, a state-sponsored television station, and they had this really fancy big round dome. But they had a problem with it because every night as the sun would set, the sunlight would hit this thing and it would form a cross on this round dome. And so they would repaint it. They tried everything they could do to keep the cross from shining on this thing. But Reagan said it was the power of the cross that tore down communism and its rule. And they couldn't stop it. There was no power. They had to take it away. And that's just a really powerful part of his message that day that I think most people don't remember.
Isn't that interesting how many places the cross appears? Mm-hmm. I think about 9/11, you know, and are we just making it up in our mind? I don't think so. I think you know, Machism number 3. What is it, Frank?
That's a trick question.
Pat failed the test. Coincidence is God's way of revealing himself. And I don't think it's
just going to say that.
Yeah, I knew you were. And I don't think it's any coincidence that the cross appears on that communist TV station, blurting out communism, anti-Christian things. It's no accident that in the middle of the worst thing that ever happened to America, there's a cross from the failed beams that were destroyed. It happens in a lot of places. All right, you were talking earlier about the fact that, and these are my words, not yours, that we need a revitalization, a revolution of Christianity and faith to sweep across not only this country but the world.
Well, I think the only hope that we have, you know, I heard Bobby Jindal recently quoting Winston Churchill, who said, "You can always count on the Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else." Right. And I think that we have tried everything, and so why not turn back to the Lord now? We've tried everything, and it's not working. Our country's just going downhill. We've lost our moral way, and we're only getting more and more dark. We're only embracing more and more death in our culture, and so I think, why not try God now?
Okay, we did not talk about this before, so it's off the hand. First thing you'd eliminate.
First thing I would eliminate?
Yeah. If you said you want to return to a moral compass, what's the first thing we add or eliminate?
I don't know that I have any power to do what you're talking about.
Sanctity of life.
Well, yeah. I mean, for me personally, it's going to be, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be preachers preaching God's truth from the pulpit.
Okay.
And I believe,
rather than this watered down spiritual prosperity gospel.
Absolutely, and I think that it's important that our pulpits thunder God's truth again, and I think that frankly is why we have gotten to the place that we have gotten to, is because our pulpits have either silenced themselves or changed the message.
Well, Mike Wagner was here yesterday giving some stunning statistics about the memberships that certain denominations are losing at rapid rate, and some are just barely holding their own. So if that's not a call for spiritual revival in this country, what is? Atheism is growing faster in this country than most denominations. So-called professed atheists. Right. I don't necessarily believe there is one, because they all cry God in a foxhole.
Right. Well, the fact is the fastest declining denominations in America, or in the world for that matter, are those that embrace a culture of death, that would not uphold life, those that would say that marriage is anything that you want it to be. And you look at any denomination that has mainstreamed those kind of ideals, and they are very, very quickly declining in numbers, more than any of the others. And I don't want to call anybody out, but that's just facts. And you know, those that are growing, those that are holding firm, are those that are actually standing up for truth still. And there's people want that. People want to hear the truth. People don't want to hear a middle-of-the-road message. The only thing in the middle of the road are yellow lines and dead skunks.
What happens to lukewarm? It gets spit out.
Thrown up. Yeah.
All right, Michael, thank you as always to be here. I try to get you all the time, and you're so busy and taking care of your congregation, and I honor that. But please know you're welcome anytime.
I appreciate it.
Anytime. Fort Des Moines Church of Christ, right there on Army Post Road, kind of catty corner from the Y. What time services?
10 a.m. on Sunday mornings. Go to our website, godsfort.org, godsfort.org.
Do you podcast your sermons?
Yes.
All right. Good deal. He's a very good preacher. All right, Frank, tomorrow, speaking of the crisis of one of the crises in the country, we'll be talking about pro-life tomorrow. And Tim Overland will be with us. And on the phone will be Judah Myers, who has an incredible story to tell about her life and experience with abortion and trying to have her life distinguished before she was born. Until I see you again, think of somebody that you need to forgive. Think of a resentment you carry. You've been carrying it a long time. It irritates you. It poisons your mind. They live rent-free between your ears. Tonight, would you do that on the 15th of January, 2015? Would you give that to God and begin to live freely? I'll see you tomorrow.